Hi there, y'all, and this is your Sensei Al Bob coming to you on our YouTube channel, Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. And I want to thank you for your presence, for your being the cadre, for being the chorus. I'm doing this for you, and this is all about entertainment, right? Because without being and it's more than entertainment, Entertainment, the guy slipping on the banana peel and you laugh, you know. That's entertainment. Um, Enlightenment and being entertained while being in co-creation with love. And being in co-creation in love is where you experience creating something that's bigger than yourself, right? As in the good book it says, when more than two are together in my name, that's when you have it going on. And the name, that is said, is love. The main creator, a great maker, that which was before that which was, was love. The thing that was in the beginning was love. And all things were dark. What was all things dark? That's the presence of everything photonic, something without a shadow. Anyway, so I want to thank you all for all the great that you are, right? Now, we have the cadre, and that is, the larger cadre is the almost 40,000 people who are viewing this since May 8th. But the cadre, that's the cadre of all our relations. The cadre of the channel is the 260 something folk who I don't like calling, the term subscribers, No, because this isn't a Saturday Evening Post or your neighborhood newspaper, right? Or cable TV, this ain't HBO. Because this wouldn't exist without you being here, So you are the cadre of adepts, and I am your, Griot Sensei Al Bob. The guy to tell you the story, the guy that leads by example. That's what your sensei does, leads by example. Doesn't do what, inside the box. No, your sensei leads by example through intent. And what's my intent? My intent is to get everyone on the bus and go home to love's co-creation and to realize that this world we're in, this material illusion of a world. Hey there, buddy. Yep, that two love essence. Yep. No duality in love's co-creation. And so everything I do, before I go on air, I talk to people, I go into prayer, I meditate, I kind of, lighten up. See, this is photonic light, right? And even though it's being shined through this kind of cellophane lens that was sprayed on the sky earlier this morning, And there's not a cloud in the sky, but it is gray film, a silver film, an aerosol up there, and it's taking certain frequencies out, right? And that's why people are getting sick. That's why there's this thing out there in the world called the zombie deer, the zombie wolf, the zombie raccoon. And it's not a virus and not a bacteria, not a fungus. It's a, RNA, not even a hormone. And it's, go look up the zombie deer. And they are growing, growing, growing all through. They started out there in the Midwest, and they're heading to the plains, and they're heading to the east. And it's spread by, fluid contact, meaning if the deer sneezes on you and it's a zombie deer and you're another deer, you're going to be a zombie deer, you know? And so I look at a lot of YouTube channels. First off, you guys leave a ton of stuff on my inbox and leave me a ton of stuff on my Gmail, the dude awake 42 at Gmail. And I truly, truly appreciate it because it really does add a context for me to do these shows. Now, a lot of people said, it took me 4 months to figure out how to take my playlist, that's my history up there, the things I play, and then put it on the playlist that you can see, which is, I think, must read this or something like that. So now you can go up to my channel, to my playlist, and there's a list of maybe 300 things, right, that you should go take a look at. Now, someone said, oh man, you should, kind of make a, files and put stuff in this. Yeah, so I kind of did that. Not really. I got, maybe I got a 30 or 40 in 5 or 6 playlists that I made. And then someone said, well, you have so many shows, you should, make a similar thing, this, a file for this, this, and this. Now, the problem with that is, so I have close to 600 shows on my channel, The problem is, if I made a, bibliography kind of list, there would be 600 files because they're all different. And what I want you to do is I want you, if you go up there and you look at the channels, you can like put your finger on one thing and go wing, and it goes blah, 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 and stops. And then you got maybe 4 to pick from. Pick one, like throwing a dart, and watch that, because each one of them is separate and distinct. Each one of them represents a point in time. Each one of them is a dynamic of an expression of because what I'm doing here, what kind of makes Dreamy Dreamland different? It's that bright light in your face, in your eyes, in your imaginary mirror, when we go into state in the evenings and I energize your body with the prana that you're breathing in 20%, and you see it, being turned into a scalar frequency that energizes the mitochondria of your cell as the cell does mitosis, and the DNA zips apart and the RNA goes in there. And that's where the zombie everything goes in, right? But if you're looking through your imaginary mirror with that illuminated photonic light, and not the of love's co-creation, that's where you get the perspective. And that's why each of these shows, they're all different. I can't put them in categories. Just throw a dart at them. Now, let's see. I've kind of started to watch a very interesting channel called Marfugal, Marfugail News. This is one guy, and he's he's pretty interesting. He does the news, he does a lot of stuff, and he has a crew, and he's like getting up to that 100,000. Hey, research. You know this guy, Merforgel News? He has. He's. I guess he's been up there a long time. He's getting close to 100,000 subscribers, and once he gets there, they can't turn him off. You know, and you know, you know, YouTube will do whatever the heck it wants to do to anybody. Even if they say, "Hey, this is what it is." Oh, we've changed the rules. So, but he's the first guy who kind of I heard about. I mean, he's really into the big earthquakes that are coming. Everyone's talking about, the new Madras and this. And first, California's going to fall into the drift, and then the gigantic tsunami is going to go across Asia and wipe out Japan and the Philippines and China and Alaska and parts of Russia. And the Russians are seemingly getting ready for that. Jay Shitty. I'll give him a check. But you know who I'm talking about? Our Frugal News. Kind of a short-haired guy. And anyway, I forever. Yep, that's where I'm at. So, and the girl who's forever graceful. Who else? Let's see. Emily, she's the daughter, the illegitimate daughter of the Edward, the King of England. Who else? There are a couple of people who are kind of, and they're really interesting, right? And they're kind of like me in that, they're putting out some interesting product. It's different, but I know enough, heard enough, sense enough to pick that, these people are righteous, right? And they're not trying to, it's like how Jimmy Dore is righteous, but Joe, what's his name? And Joe, what's his name? He's very interesting because he has no real opinions himself, but he's been given, he's like for Nuggy Nuts, who's the guy's the most foodie poo, who, he puts up a a little YouTube about how he's, coloring his toenails, and 6 million people watch it in 20 minutes. Whenever you see kind of stuff like that, Emily, yeah, Craig Windsor, that's the one. Yep, I love that lady. And there's another one. She's a European physicist from CERN. No mic? You can't hear me? Can you hear me now? I mean, I got the thing in. Here's my mic. It's plugged in. Can you hear me now? Johnny, can you hear me? Can you hear me calling? Johnny, can you hear me? Do I need to unplug my earphone? Can you hear me? This is a test. Test, test, test. Can you hear me? Yoo-hoo. Anyway, it's interesting that in my technical issues, it's only me by myself, and I have no idea what I'm doing technically. And I stumble into making it work, and that's a sure sign of a miracle. So, can anyone hear me? Oop-a-doop-a-doo-doo. Ringtone. Sorry. It me. Oh. Anyway. So there are a lot of really interesting folk out there on the YouTube, but it's owned by the man. The powers that shouldn't be have total control, and they just kind of have all this stuff up so their algorithms can keep an eye on everyone, loud and clear. Good. And I just do it because what my little experiment was I'm in shamanic state, and I wanted to bring forth into the whole World Wide Web, the shamanic energy, right? Like a nuclear weapon, right? And instead of like having, oh, a channel that, oh, I love this master. Oh, listen to this meditating music, blah, blah, blah. You know, now some of them are pretty good at pumping up the vibe, right? But I actively try and do my shamanic meditations and then bring them on to the digital platform, right? So no matter what happens, this energy is out there bouncing around the World Wide Web, bouncing around, the matrix in a way that nothing else is. Now, there are others that are there doing it too, and I'm, in harmony with their connection to love's co-creation. I'm in harmony with, all our relations. But, the fear porn folk are pumping out, oh, this catastrophe. It's like I've been around for the last 70 years, and somebody, oh, this asteroid's going to hit us on June 12th, 2074. This, that, just over and over, all of this fear porn. And what they're missing is, yes, that may have happened, but through deja vu, we were on one set of tracks, and then the switch came, and these guys, yes, they got wiped out by that asteroid, but the rest of us kind of went that way. And it wasn't the born-again Christians. No, sorry. Oh, let's see. Well, come on, let's hear some interesting theses on your point of view, because I'm going to eat my sandwich. And that's what it looks like when you gum your food. Oh, about 5 years ago, when I ran out of money and I couldn't afford expensive dentists, I went to the poor people dentist, and he said, oh, well, whip them all out and give you false teeth. I said, well, how good is that? He said, well, it really sucks, because in this state, the teeth that we get, when you're in prison, you have a little cavity, they rip the tooth out, because it's a lot easier for them to do that. If you're in there about 10 years, you end up, if you're really good at brushing your teeth, you have some good gene pool, you end up with no teeth. So everyone gets the same false teeth. No, one size fits everyone. Most people, some people, not so bad. But a good 40%, it's like you open your mouth and your teeth shoot out of your head. So anyway, my dentist said, well, you learn how to gum your food. He's right. I'm gumming my food. Anyway, I'll keep eating until you ask me a question that's interesting. And again, my little, not so bad. Yeah, for a guy with, who gums his food, not so bad. Could be worse. Could be like all the way up. I don't look like a billy goat when I do it, though. So, go on to my playlist and must see, things you should watch. I think that's what it's called on my channel. And chips. The thing about chips, you can't really crunch them. You kind of suck them. Break them up into a small piece like this. Kind of like what you did in Catholic Church when they put the host on. You're not supposed to chew the host. course, you know, Jamie, everyone is always here. You know, we don't go nowhere. You know, within the roulette wheel of reincarnation, we get different bags of water. But you don't even have to do that. If you are awake enough when you die, and, go read August Huxley's Doors to Perception. You know those 9 doors I take you guys into? That's what he talks about. It's a great book. Go read Joseph Campbell about the myth of the hero. Hmm? So we get to live in our little bag of water to get experience. It's like the sandbox. We learn how to play nice with the kids. And when you die, if you're awake, you can choose other places to go. Like Shambhala. There. Down to the land of hell, the land of the 8 kings of magic. There are lots of lands. We've gone to many, many places, going through the roots of the tree of life and the tree of knowledge, right? And one of those places is that we went to the old crone's farm, right? And that picture that Dragon drew when he was 11, now he's 30, he drew a picture perfect of going into the Akashic record and the photonic light and the bridge over through, across your id into your sanctuary. He drew that when he was 11. And he, drew the picture of the old crone and her farmhouse. Pretty amazing. So, that's why I want you to go back and look at these shows. And, like I said, if I had to make a list of the shows, that list would be 600. I mean, I made a list of things. You should go look at my, playlist. And that's a list of, it'll probably 20 or 30. And the 300 will fit in there someplace. But the shows are all individual, Their names are what they are. So what I wanted you to do was, why I made so many of these, was one, I wanted to put up the teachings. Two, I may not be, every day I may not wake up, My endocrinologist keeps saying, boy, you're the healthiest dead guy I know. And yesterday I was pretty dead, I wasn't feeling that happy or great, But, I meditated way more before I went to sleep, and I meditated a good hour before I got out of bed, so I'm doing pretty good. I've been walking around, and so, anyway, I have a surprise for you. I did the same as Dragon. Yes. Why do you think you're part of the cadre? Why do you think you're an adept? Of course you did. What I want you to see is, take a picture of it and send it to, email it to me. Yep, I'll email it to you. Yep, exactly. So, and that's why I want as many of you this summer and spring. And in a few days, I'm heading for the deep green. As soon as it gets, every night it's been in the 20s. Once it gets to the place where it doesn't get any, it's supposed to be in the 40s next week at night. I may head out there. I just be out there. So, so if anybody lives near Asheville, North Carolina, my front door at the Deep Green is about 70 miles north of Asheville. So if you lived anywhere near there and you wanted to have me visit you, I'd be glad to. My vehicle has a nice, every day I can drive maybe 200 miles in it, without stressing it out. So I have no money to fix it or get a new one or any of the above. So, and my car is just, I'm meditating it down the road. But, it's time for me to move on from here. Right now it's comfy, and I'm probably going to stay here until May because it's, okay. Yep. Exactly, buddy. So, you know, the Greeks, the city-state of, oh, who were those guys? Started with an S. The badass Greek city-state starts with an S. Those guys, that movie, The 300, they kept the Persians, a Persian army of 500,000, 300 guys kept, you know, 500,000 Sparta. That's the gang. You know, we're like Sparta. And did you know that Sparta was a matriarchal city state? It was run by women. It's a total feminist place. And they cut their city into a mountain, and their city was on top. And you kind of, they built a wall all around the mountain, cut off the top, flattened it off, and they had this inclined plane that went up. And when the army, which was all guys, was sent off to conquer or fight or protect, if they lost, the women would, as the guys came up the inclined plane, they lost. The women showed them their backs, which meant they weren't getting any for a long time. So they were very motivated into kicking butt. And if they won, the women were basically naked and throwing flower petals at them. So, so that's us. We are like the spiritual Spartans, right? That's the cadre of adepts, or the spiritual Spartans. Yep, matriarchy was still the balance then. Yep. And what we're experiencing now with all of this wacko cultural dynamic, we had, you know, total, Playboy, Hugh Hefner, President Jack Kennedy, he gets whacked because he wants to bring back, Treasury issued greenbacks, and he wants to tell everyone about, the ET presence, and so they whack him, and also a whole bunch of, virtually everybody and his brother was trying to kill Jack that day. Anyway, and then we had LBJ, the biggest sleazoid. I mean, he would make guys come in, senators and congressmen, and stand in front of him while he pinched a loaf in the toilet in the Oval Office, right? And he joked that the Oval Office was his toilet. And he killed and murdered people, meaning the only reason he took on the, Jack offered him the vice presidency because he knew, or he felt, that Lyndon wouldn't take it. But Lyndon and his whole, as they call them, the swamp, were about to all get indicted because they had been murdering loads of people for years, And so Lyndon knew that if he was Jack's vice president, at least for 4 years, he wouldn't get indicted. And so, and he would, be able to, you know, wiggle his way out of it. Anyway, so he's up in his big suite in the, big hotel in Dallas, because that's where the Democratic convention was. And the guy who ran the big newspaper in Texas, and Dallas was LBJ's town. He owned it, he ran it, he was, you know, the big daddy there. And he was the Tony Soprano of Dallas. And basically, this big newspaper media guy said, Linda, what are you, nuts? These guys hate you. They're going to treat you like a toy poodle. And Lyndon's response to that, he said, well, about every 5 presidents, one of them gets assassinated. And I feel lucky. So he had that in his business plan from the get-go. And he just was looking for people who will do it for him, right? And, the movie about Kennedy's JFK was written from Jim Marrs' book. You should go read Jim Marrs' books. he was a great newspaperman, great investigator. He was the first guy on board with conspiracy. I mean, he was the person who they pointed at him and said conspiracy theory, And he was one of the first when I was starting doing conferences back in the 70s. Jim Mars and Bill, the guy who wrote Behold the Pale Horse. Those were the two big names. And there were a whole bunch of other folks like Al Bielek and a few others. And, the guys who, Billy, what's his name, the flying saucer guy, and the other guy who was doing, yeah, Bill Cooper. Yep. So there was a very, and what those conferences were really fun were, it was a small group of folks, right? And the people who would come to the conferences were people who were abductees and rocket scientists, and people who weren't just wannabes. They were people who really had experiences and were looking to share, to hear. See, I'm not crazy, and that was, for about 8 years, that was pretty cool. And a lot of us were in, like me, I was at the UN, and so it was a very interesting 10-year period. But once, by 1984 or 5, once, the second term of Ronnie, when it was obvious he was either, they had the chip in his head or he was just a robot or a clone or something, but he was, taken care of. Yeah, Val Valiant, that guy was Thor. He was a trip because he was dapper as dapper could be. He wore Brooks Brothers suits, and I mean, he could wear a Brooks Brothers suit like nobody else. And yeah, he was quite extraordinary. And he had a cadre himself. And what was really great about him, he was, it was straight out of the movie, The Day the Earth Stood Still, when they put Michael Rennie in the military establishment and he just disappears. That's what Thor used to do. He was put in a little box in the basement of the Pentagon, and he said, "Fine, sure." You know, they lock him in there, and the next morning, they'd what, and he'd be like, on Today's Show on NBC. I mean, he was all over the friggin' place, and he wasn't spilling the beans per se, but he was basically energetically giving the heads up. Hey, this is what, and he would be in all these little groups, out there in California. There were a ton of groups like we had in Arizona. There were a ton of groups. So there were little groups, and we didn't, have the money or the internet to go all over the place. We just had our little group in our little neck of the woods. And some of us would travel, from New York to Pennsylvania or, within the bio region. And, but once it became a thing and it became a money maker, and once the, powers that shouldn't be took it over 100%. And all of these, Stephen Greer and David Wilcox and all of those guys, they are part of that. And you can't help but be part of that if you want to go mainstream in that. That's why I'm happy to be your Sensei Al Bob. And that's why I like the fact that this stuff is on the internet. And I keep telling you all, all of these shows, go back and watch these shows and stick them on your hard drive, right? And go into state. Why do you think I spend so much time? Back in the day, I would have to just show an adept once, lead them in a guided meditation, and they do it, right? And they do it. Yes, we were living in ashrams and stuff like that, and yes, they were, and they found that, man, if I do this, I'll be able to do martial arts. Like, if I do this, I'm going to learn how to, make, healing things, and all the reasons why people would come to the school if they just, went into state and did what they were doing in their Akashic record. And people ran businesses and became rich and successful by simply breathing 20% in and breathing out 30, right? And that's why I keep doing this night after night after night. Now, at a certain point, because of relativity, one of them is in a matter of weeks, I won't be able to do this. I'll be out there in the middle of the woods, no internet, no connection, no connectivity. And the only way you're going to get a hold of me, yes, you can go on my Gmail and leave me a little message or message, well, pretty much that's it. Or, leave a comment. I would love it if some of you guys left comments on these shows. Nobody does, maybe one or two. Come on, let's have some, that's why I want you to go back and watch the shows. Like I said, I have over almost 600, if not more than 600 shows. And they're all will blow your mind. You know? So, that's what we're here to do. Okay. All these movies are, the powers that shouldn't be and the hidden hand, they control Hollywood. What's Hollywood? But a magic wand. Every magic wand is made from Hollywood. Why do they think they put that big sign up there? If you go look up the history of that sign, you will find that no one knows who put it up there. I mean, there was this real estate guy who put it. No. Go look at the history. You'll see that. Oops. And it like happened overnight. And no matter how many fires or how many, windstorms or whatever blows down or burns up or whatever, it gets put right up like the next day. Because it's a sitchin, it's like one of those symbols that has shamanic magic power, which really Luciferian power. It has the power of the shadow. Anyway, whereas, shamanic power, not so much. It doesn't have that. It has, it's illuminated, not by Lucifer, but by love's co-creation through, photonic light. Yep, morphonic field. That's the photonic light. Yep. Well, Roanoke is, that's, Roanoke is right off of 91. So, man, anybody wants to come and get me, I'll jump in your car while it's still freaking rolling, And I want to what I want to do is I want to do a little road trip for a week or two where we go down, basically go down 81, hang a left, go into the deep green. You see what it is? You know where it is? We do some ceremony there. We go visit Johnson City, and you can see what university is and how we could have that as a base of operation, and then go over to App State and Boone and do the same there, and then drive down to Asheville, Tennessee, which was my base of operations. I'm still, I can walk down Broadway and go, Al's back, and we can go hang out there, and we stay at our friends and go to parties and do all kinds of fun things, and then keep going down 26, all the way down to 95, hang a right, and go to Georgia, to Jekyll Island. And right now, Jekyll Island is beautiful, and it's cheap because there's no tourists there yet. And we can get a nice suite with a jacuzzi in it right on the beach and spend a couple of days there for just $100 or so, and go to the big hotel where they invented the Federal Reserve and the IRS were both invented in that house, that hotel, because it was the clubhouse of J.P. Morgan, Rockefeller, and all of those guys, right? And we can, sit down at one of the little benches there and meditate, and you will see the energy of all the things that were done. Right? You'll see J.P. Morgan, you'll see Mr. Rockefeller, you'll see Mr. Pierpoint, you'll see Mr. Carnegie, you'll see all the people who shackled you and your family and all of your relations. And then we get back on the road and we go into Florida and we go along 10 and stop at a few friends' places and then go into Alabama and go into Louisiana and stop off at good old New Orleans, and then keep going to New Mexico and go visit friends in New Mexico and travel around there. There's a lot of sacred places. I spent 3 years there. I had one of the great Hopi elders of the Hopi trilogy, Hopi secrets, as my teacher. He's no longer there, but his grandsons might be. And I can take you to the sacred places, and then we can travel back. Yes, you can stick your teepee up on the big green, right? I got a beautiful spot for it, right? And that'll be you know a kind of base of operations you can always come to. Oh, that we that's like getting the circus together. A couple of cars, it'll be great. Yep. Yeah, but it's energetically an amazing place. The whole thing is about to learn from things, not to be oppressed by them. Yep. And I can take you to all those places and get you in. Yep, this will be fun. And sooner rather than later. This is the perfect time, the next whatever. But whenever you do it is fine too. But right now I'm like just killing time here. And it's okay. It's sunny. The last week has been beautiful. I just come to the library and, work on a novel and talk to you guys, which is fine. So, yep, it's all good. It's whatever it is, I have no expectations. So, gang, just keep me in the loop. Tell me, we'll be more specific about times and where to pick me up on the email. So it's not so ubiquitous on the World Wide Web. Of course, one of the rules is you don't go anywhere unless you have an exit strategy. I am my grandmother's son. Right? Yep. Your intent is everything. It'd be nice. It'd be cool if we could get Ride to come along, right? Yeah. I'm kind of away from the dresser. Exactly. No. As the bottom line is the secret to not being, taken away like that is as one of my clients would say, you're an acquired taste, meaning I can make people feel pretty uncomfortable. Um, the people who think they're in charge, the people who think they're in control, the people who think they own everything, they're the most fearful people known. Right? And that's why kings had jesters and magicians in their court. And usually they're the same guy, just two different hats. That's why I have so many hats. You know, I have my jester's hat, I have a magician's hat, my griot hat. Yep, put it out there. I mean, I really don't know how to. The only way I contact you guys is from doing these live chats because it's easy. All I do is hit that little button that says "Go Live." You know? No. But I do suggest that you all start copying the shows. Go on my channel, go into all the shows, and stick them on thumb drives like Dragon did. You know, he put them as many as he could on drives, and put it on your hard drive, put it on thumb drives, put it on CD-ROMs. Because the more we can keep the history of this, and not just keep it in one place like YouTube's memory, this will be good. Right? And the other thing I keep asking you guys to do is to put up your own YouTube channel, or don't you guys have some kind of groupie thing? Not groupie, but group kind of thing. I forgot what it's called. That you named it because one of you who did this sent me, hey, this is how you get on, and I couldn't even log myself onto the thing. Every time I tried to tell them my email address, I said, there is no such email. I mean, that's, you know, I'm like your old grandpa when it comes to that. I basically kind of figured out, yes, it took me 4 months to figure out how to get my playlist so you could look at it, but I did it. I mean, I went to all these people who said, oh, I know everything about computers. They didn't have a clue. I just had to, as the kids say, just keep pushing the buttons. Anyway, what I really love to do is sometime in the late spring or early summer, you know, have you guys all together. Like I said, around the Deep Green, there's so much resources just a few miles this way, that way. And we really needed the internet there. You know, we could get, you know, dish to put a dish up on the tree and we'd have internet. But I'd love to make another kind of channel, you know, expand Dreamy Dreamland out of just me. And yes, you, the contrary, are, you know, the other side of me. But, you know, I'm talking about Humanities Artist Trust International, the, you know, Freely Inquiring Society, the Institute for Aesthetically Adept and Appropriate Technology. I know how to write grants. I know how to, like, start moving that direction. I have still have lots of connections that we could move this into and take it into a platform that we could monetize for ourselves and take it to all of these colleges and towns and do what the Dharma bums did. We could be the Dharma bums of the 2000, you know, the O's, the later O's, the 220s. You know, we can be, you know, the all of the Dharma bums of the 220s. So, I mean, that sounds like fun for me. I mean, I'd stay alive for another 10 years, and if we did that, we could energetically keep the wolves away. You know, we could create that window that I keep talking about of opportunity that would give the human race that little space it needs so it doesn't throw itself down into another 900 years of a dark age. And we've done that enough, you know? I mean, just go look at the mud flood, go look at the Gilded Age, go, you know, the Tutorian empires. There's a ton of things that's not even. I mean, that just happened 200 years ago. It's not even in our history books. I mean, people know nothing about it. You know, and that's why Emily, she's great. She knows everything. She's really, and I love that she gets so twisted up. I guess if I was a princess, and they threw my dad out of the court, and I had to be taken to America, and grown up in a trailer park. Yeah, I might be a little upset, but hey, but not really. And then there's that, like I said, that European physicist. I think her name is Helen, or her last name ends with an H. She's really interesting. So, and I like her. Yes, exactly. If it was supposed to happen, it would happen 10 years ago. Meaning, why did I go to work for the corporate world? Because it was fun. They paid me really well, and I swam in a bathtub, a swimming pool of chocolate mousse. I had the most hedonist life you could imagine. Yes, it killed me in a bowl of, ended, the end game of that was dying in a bowl of spaghetti, but I came back, here I am, right? So but I did that because I thought, from everything I had seen, all the stuff I've been shown and exposed to and been part of, I said the human race can't keep going, but it has. But we're every so often we come into these little interesting rivulets of time and space that are a challenge, and we have to navigate through them, right? And that's why the cadre has come together, because we can do it. We can be, like I said, we can be the Dharma bums of the 2020s. Uh, and that sounds awful fun to me. It'd be nice to be remembered as that. Would you like to be remembered as the Allen Ginsberg of the 2020s? Right? So, anyway, so my battery's probably near dead, and my little charging cord is screwed up, so I have to use this other one that's like, instead of 6 feet long, it's a foot and a half long, so I can't do this. That's why I had to unplug. So, well, let's see. Yeah, that's it, Horton. Yep, swears like a trooper. I love her. Oh, motherfucker. Oh, oh, she's just, because, man, if somebody was like pounding in my head with scalar weapons, I'd be pissed off too. And, she, did everything they told her to do. She was the beautiful girl who, went to school and became a scholar and then a scientist, and all of the above. And just because she kind of went down the wrong rabbit hole at a certain point in time, and then didn't, take the envelope, didn't, she was aghast at what she found, and so she was going to step up, right? That's why I love her. We need to get her over here and be on, that would be, she could be our David Icke, you know, and, truly graceful. She would be another great person on the road. So that's kind of what I want to do. I want to get a really interesting crew together and take it on the road and have a lot of fun. That's what I like doing. I mean, I wake up in screaming pain. I meditate for an hour, and then I get out of bed and I walk around. The more I walk around, the more everything works better. And then I move forward. I make John a breakfast, that he either eats or he doesn't. Then I come to the library and write my novels and talk to people. Right? And then I talk to you guys. And that's fine. But I'd like to take it on the road and have way more fun, meet more people, touch more folk in a good way. Anyway, and not be on a two-dimensional platform, be on a way everybody platform, someone said, I forgot who, I think it was Ride, that he liked David Icke because he was like, having a tent revival. That's what I kind of want. Tent revival, circus, carnival, bring the band together. Yeah. So anyway, now we've had the most people we've had, four of you there. But I will still say, I love you all, and I'll see you later tonight. All right. Last night I tried to get online, and because of my troubles of power, didn't figure it out fast enough, and so I couldn't get online. The internet just would keep refusing me, so that's why I didn't put anything up last night. But I'll try tonight, between let's say 7:30 p.m. Okay. Okay. I love you guys.